guests and VA officials. It's the first time I've ever held one of these. We're going to start the ceremony with the Pledge of Allegiance, and it's going to be we're going to be led by Ray. Now.
Everybody have to stand.
Yep.
Detail. 10, hut, and salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ray.
You're welcome.
Maybe
That's the first time I've actually recited that in a long time. We will now have some remarks by Frank, our association president.
First one over.
Welcome.
Close to your mouth.
Welcome. This whole thing started in 2017 at our reunion. We took the tour of the Fort Snelling Cemetery, and John was taking us around and showing us everything. And then Andy Anderson came up with the question, how could we get something for the Fort Snelling like this? Well, John said it's not hard. A lot of paperwork, take a little time, but it could be done. And he was very happy to hear that there was a ship called the USS Fort Snelling Lsd 30. John is a Marine, for those of you who haven't met him, and you know that's part of the Navy. So Robert and Kathy started to look into what it would take to get here. It wasn't easy. They spent endless nights without sleep trying to do everything. Robert actually designed the ship, and he went out and got prices, and Kathy, endless paperwork. Oh, right there. Oh my God. And then there were phone calls to get approvals, to, can we start asking for donations and so on and so forth. In the olden days, they would wait till the next reunion to have a meeting, and it would go year to year to year. It would get done probably eventually, but we did what we had to do. The board was very good, very helpful, took phone calls because we couldn't meet, and we got approvals very quickly. And of course, there would be a phone call to Minnesota or to Connecticut from Robert to me, and Kathy would be on the phone, and we would just discuss everything. I want to thank Kathy and Robert for all the work that they've done to put this together. I would also like to thank the board, which was Dominic, Robert Ottenstein, Fred Conti, our favorite sailor over here, Dyson, for all the help that they gave us, and Andy Anderson, for all the help that they gave us to get things approved and to get this going. And I also would like to thank you, the people who donated and made this happen. And I want to thank you all. This is something that we will remember forever. And this is something that we can tell our grandchildren about, that someday they may come up here to Minnesota and see our monument. And this is great. And John, thank you for getting us this spot where they can see it from the road, which is great. And with that, I end. Thank you.
Thank you. The next up, right? Oh, the red button. Just keep going.
Thank you,
Oh,
Frank.
Just keep it going. All
It's,
right. Yep.
It's been an honor to work on this and do this for the association that has welcomed Kathy and I last few years. And also, Frank, thank you for saying everything that I don't have to make a speech now. You've said everything that I wanted to say.
I just came up with it.
Andy, our webmaster and one of our oldest members, would like to say a few things now.
Thank you, Bob. As many of you know, I was on the Fort Snelling from December 1959, 55, until May of 1959. She was 11 months old when I came on board. And it was the biggest thing I have ever seen. I left Fort Snelling and stayed out of the Navy for about 85 days, went back in, and my next ship assignment was USS Northampton, the President's command ship, and then I went aboard the USS LaSalle LPD-3, which was after the Fort Snelling design. It was a landing ship dock with a with a two helicopter pad landing area, and a smaller well deck, and more vehicle storage area. The LPD is one of the most versatile designed ships the Navy has, and the very newest LPD is going to be LPD-30. I don't think they'll name it Fort Snelling, but it's possible. So we might put on Facebook, we want it named LSD, we want to name Fort Snelling. I want to thank Bob and Kathy and all of you that had a part in creating this wonderful monument in memory of our sailors. I want to thank all of you for that. And being a history buff of the Navy, I'm looking forward to the newest innovations, and the LPD-30 will have that. Fort Snelling being one of the forerunners of that design, one of the most versatile ships ever created. I thank you all very much, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
Thank you, Andy. This monument is made out of granite, which should last maybe 1,000 years. The plaque on top and on the front are made out of bronze, and that should last a few hundred years. So our great-great-grandchildren should be able to come here and take a look at it. The plaque on top is 1 foot by 2 feet, and that is the Veterans Administration's requirement that they all stay that size now. And I think that's great, because you can walk up and down this row and see all of them looking very similar. The symbol on the front of the granite, which you all voted you wanted to have that on there, and I was a little worried that it wouldn't come out right, but it came out great. And that's 10 inches in diameter, and that really makes this monument stand out as an individual looking monument, I think. I will now invite John Knapp up here to accept the monument. You already know he was instrumental in helping to get this monument approved and installed.
Isn't that beautiful? I don't want to insult the other people, but I think it's probably the most beautiful monument on the road.
Amen.
It's gorgeous. Wow, beautiful design, Roger. Thank you. And thank you for coming today. Distinguished guests, Ms. Kimberly Wright, the Executive Director of the cemetery, fellow veterans. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor, and it really is my honor and privilege to welcome you to this national shrine. Let me change that. To your national shrine. The dedication today that you are performing on this monument is in honor and memory of all the shipmates who served dutifully on the USS Fort Snelling, which now takes the fitting and rightful place here at this hallowed ground, so appropriately named in the same, much like her. In such, it is fitting that this monument takes its perpetual place here in this honored place. And I noticed you were commenting about 12, the size and the dimensions and stuff. And isn't that just so military of us? To keep everything in order and in alignment, and that is the way it should be. I mean, I really appreciate the gentleman that gave the Pledge of Allegiance and called you to attention and rendered the hand salute. I wish we could continue to do that for a long time for all of our citizens, and thank you for doing that. But your dedication and generosity in donating this monument, it really speaks powerfully of the unity and solidarity of the American veterans, all of you. It also highlights the bond that exists between America's veterans and the people in which they serve. Something we notice here at the cemeteries in the weeks, in the months, and the years following the dedication of this ceremony, we will see many people stop by, walk up and down, and read these monuments. And they will read the inscription on your monument. And I want you to know that something will be imparted upon them. They will stand there, read it, they will look around themselves, and they will understand that amongst this sacred ground, this is a place where the wounds of war are healed and where sacrifices by so many are honored and understood. But you should also know that this monument will probably do much, much more than that. It'll touch so many people that you will never know. Often people who have never worn the cloth of our great nation. It'll remind them that freedom is not free. And just take a moment to look around the landscape around this monument. And you all know that the price of freedom lies all around you right now. All here in this national shrine, your national shrine. So this monument, much like this cemetery, stands as a place of peace for those who will all be remembered who served on her decks. Today is an affirmation of this fact. And today we continue to honor all those who have served and continue to serve and have sacrificed for our liberties and our freedoms. So it is my honor, on behalf of the Department of Veterans Affairs and the National Cemetery Administration, to accept this monument for its perpetual place. And we, as an organization, promise to care for it from the trust, the honored trust you have given to us, and on behalf of the American people for which it'll benefit. May God bless each and every one of you, and may God bless our great country, that country which we call America. Thank you.
Thank you, John. You were so instrumental in helping us achieve this, and it was your enthusiasm when we were here 2 years ago that really got us going. John made a very special trip here. He was going to be in Washington, D.C., but he came here special just so he could accept this monument. We will now conduct, yes. We will now conduct our memorial observance with being led by Ray, Fred, Phil, Gene, and Bob.
First name is William D. Adkins, E.A. Allwart, Walt Atkinson, Gunter Bartz, George Bailey, Gerald Barter, Paul Barrett, James Berry, Daniel O. Brush, Eugene Bracken, Russ Bradford, James G. Butler, Stephen F. Chadwick, Raymond Cesarek, Jesse Cohn, Michael A. DeMarco Jr., Gene Derryberry, Walt Deaver, Joseph DePapi, Michael A. DeCidro, Stanley A. Dross, Francis Dubois, Justin Dubois.
Richard Durr, Gerald Eash, Eddie J. Edwards, Gene Fano, Edward L. Flahart Sr., Paul Llewellyn. I'm sorry, that was Fluellen. Okay, Thomas Griffin, Salvatore J. Gershio, Arthur J. Hart, Robert Harwood, Clifford Henkel, Charles Hinman, Michael Hoffman, Alonzo Husley, Guy A. Ingham, Wayne Kuikenbush, Pete Krenner, John Leahy, James Liska, Andy McCormick, John P. McIntyre, James McKeowney, John M. Abbott McClellan.
Lyle Burgess, Vernon Clark, William Courtney, Jack R. Horvath, Phil Huss, Andy McCormick, John P. McIntyre, James Keown, Joseph Merchenberger, Brian Millspaw, David Monez, James D. Mueller, Frank Nelson, Thomas Palando, David W. Pareto Sr., John Parton, Cecil A. Patrick, James Pertram, Wayne E. Phillips, Michael Pittman, Stephen A. Poklima, Francis R. Rich, Bill Ryan, Foster Lewis Rube.
Recently deceased. Recently deceased. Commanding Officer, USS Fort Snelling, Captain D. Mason Wells. Recently deceased, Pete Krenner. Thomas Jeffers, Edward Chwalik, Milton Gabler, Dale Foss, Dean Foss, Robert Sedgey, George Starring, Rick Seeger, Arthur Tillman, Robert Taft, Chester A. Todd Jr., Brian Teal, John J. Tully Jr., Richard E. Villanueva, George J. Wagner Jr., Ron Wagglesback, Robert L. Waldron, Robert D. Ward, Bobby Wells, James White, Trent Williams, George Wilson.
Thank you, Ray, Fred, Phil, Bob, and Jean for conducting that solemn tradition with our group. It's a list that gets longer all the time, just in the few years that Kathy and I have been attending. We will now have the benediction by Andy.
Before I pray, I want to say something about the traditions of the naval service, or traditions of the military service.
Your mic, Andy.
Oh, I'm sorry. You all know Veterans Day is November 11. And November 11, several service organizations, they provide a red puppy for you to wear on your lapel. That tradition comes from Flanders Field in Belgium, World War I, where many veterans are buried. So I will now read you a poem called Flanders Field by John McRae. In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours, hold it high. If you break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders field. Let us pray. Lord of all, we praise you for all who have entered into their rest and reached the promised land where you are seen face to face. Give us grace to follow in their footsteps as they followed in the way of your Son. Thank you for the memory of those who you have called to yourself. By each memory, turn our hearts from things seen to things unseen, and lead us till we come to eternal rest you have prepared for your people, through Jesus Christ our Lord. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.
Thank you, Andy. One thing I was most worried about was the weather, but we certainly were blessed today with just perfect weather for this ceremony. I'm so glad for that. I would like to thank everyone who's attended, and both shipmates, guests, and the Veterans Administration, and especially John, and everyone who contributed in multiple ways to make this monument possible. And I'd like to also again thank Dyson and Walt that you've made this kind of special, I think. And you guys have been standing up there like we used to have to do when we were on the ship from time to time. I don't know if I could stand that long in one spot, but you guys have. Great. Well, that concludes our ceremony. Everyone come on up and take a look at what you all made possible. Thank you.